Welcome, everybody, to another edition, or the first edition, of NERDWatch Nights, or Todd's Mail Sack.
NERDWatch Magnum.
NERDWatch Magnum.
NERDWatch Magnum.
We don't know what we're going to call it, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to give it to you guys. If you guys think we should, what do you guys think we should call this? It's a secondary podcast.
I'm going to create all kinds of Facebook accounts just to load NERDWatch Magnum.
So far, we've got Mail Sack.
We got we got Todd's Mail Sack. NERDWatch presents.
Content,
right.
Apparently, it all comes out of emails from Todd.
That's right. So this second half is NERDWatch presents Todd's Mail Sack, or
email doesn't come in a sack.
I'm starting to like.
You're
NERDWatch
doing it
Magnum.
wrong.
or NERDWatch Magnum, courtesy of Alika.
That's where my vote is.
NERDWatch Nights is from myself. We had NERDWatch After Hours or NERDWatch After Dark. But you guys decide.
Spice Channel.
Yeah, you let us know.
Skinemax.
By the way, I am joined by, of course, Todd Bernardi, the one and only Swan, Alika, Format, and of course Gannon. And Gannon, why are you using an iPhone?
Burn nerdy.
Huh?
Why are you using an iPhone?
Because my V10 gave up the ghost.
That soon?
Are you guys anti-iPhone?
What the heck, man? I tell you what, I don't like my
I
iPhone.
think the Apple versus Mac debate still existed.
I don't.
Well,
Apple versus
it
Mac,
doesn't
they're the
because
same.
Apple-
I'm sorry.
They're the same.
Man, you stupid.
I'm rooting for Apple.
Yeah, I'm.
You just got Gilmore.
That sucks. That your V10 crapped out so fast.
Well, it's under warranty. So
Oh, that's good.
Are we really going to talk about my
What are you
phone issues
getting?
on this?
Are you going to get the one with
No,
the?
I'm getting my V10 back.
Oh, you're getting it back. Oh, I thought you'd get the
You
one.
didn't hear?
You didn't want to get the one with
Todd
the.
wrote about your phone
Yeah.
issues in his email.
You didn't want to get.
It's a 3-page diatribe on my phone.
You didn't want to get.
Because you had a lot of pictures of my mail sack.
That's right.
Yeah.
You didn't want to get the one with the exploding battery in it. No.
That's the Note 7.
Oh, is that the one?
So
Okay.
far, it's only the Korean model.
Is it guaranteed to explode?
There's been
A lot of
two.
them have been.
It's been only off the chain
Yeah.
for about a week.
They actually went and
And they're doing a worldwide recall. It's pretty crazy.
Well, they don't want to blow people's heads up like scanners.
Yeah.
You can just get replacement. It's a faulty battery.
All right.
Apparently
You know what I just realized? Here's what we didn't do. This second podcast is devoted to random conversations about things that deal with nerd culture. We don't necessarily have a point like the NERDWatch where we talk about movies and games and all that stuff. This is kind of like a listen.
Our focus gets less focused.
Yes, our focus gets less focused here on NERDWatch Nights,
As Jackie Chan would
or
put it.
NERDWatch presents Todd's Mail Sack, or NERDWatch Magnum, or NERDWatch After Dark.
It'll always be NERDWatch.
Why don't we
Magnum
just
in
let
my
people
heart.
vote?
So I'm saying we should.
NERDWatch Max.
My idea was NERDWatchmen.
NERDWatch what?
NERDWatchmen.
NERDWatchman. Ooh,
Yeah.
Like a
that's
comic book.
nice.
I thought those were two separate words. Nerdwatch men.
Like we watch
NERDWatchmen.
Car Ramrod.
That's it. NERDWatch men? Question mark.
We show up and do the pod with blue dongs.
Who watches the NERDWatch?
Who watches the NERDWatch? I like it. NERDWatch
Ruben
men?
Oh, okay.
All right, good.
It's my mail sack that's scaring everybody away. It's not the blue dong.
Okay, good.
It's the blue mail
The
sack.
blue dog is the watch.
Todd's blue mail sack. That's the name of this pod.
Well, here's what we haven't had a chance to talk about in the first half of the show.
I actually have to apologize for that because Todd's blue mail sack sounds bad. You know that I think about it?
It's like, man, you should go see a doctor.
Yeah. Well, here's what we want to talk about.
Or tell your wife sorry.
Todd, once again, good old Todd is.
I have to tell her that all the time.
Good
How's
old,
about that email?
yeah. Good old Todd is graced us with some interesting conversations that we can have on this show for the next 45 to 50 minutes.
Good old blue mail sack.
Yeah. Todd emailed me again this week. By the way, you may all get a little more traction on subjects you'd like to speak about if you email me, because Todd is the only guy that does. So I just thought I'd throw it out there.
I use
Send
that
it-
podcast image that you made
Yeah, I know, right?
for the same reason. But, if I'd have known that we're just emailing you, Mail that.
Right.
Yeah.
I made a Facebook group, but it's Todd's personal touch of emailing.
Well, I don't want to compete with
There's
anybody.
a separate
So
Facebook.
I'm going to send you like a snail mail thing.
No, but
mail it tonight. Write it right here.
And then put like the wax seal on the back.
There's a mailbox right outside in
I know.
front of Amigos, so
I
you're
actually
good.
use it quite often.
Well, here's one of the cool things about what Todd emailed me about. First of all, it has to deal with comic books. Secondly, it also has to deal with a very special birthday that happens. That happens, but
That's
once
my
a year.
birthday.
Happy birthday, format. We were talking about you.
It is one of the all-time comic book legends' birthdays, and that's Mr. Jack Kirby. It's his birthday, and
it was his it was his birthday, August 27th.
okay, there you go. And now, what's interesting is that, of course, that
2 weeks ago.
so of course.
That was a week ago.
Of course, Jack Kirby's work
Last
is
month.
what influences all the Comic-Cons around the country.
Kirby Dots.
Kirby Crackle.
And of course, that's also because of, or that's also why we're doing a Maui Comic-Con this November, courtesy of Maui Comics and Collectibles.
It's called Kirby Comic Con. Maui Kirby Comic Con.
Just Maui Comic Con.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
We don't want to get sued by the Kirby estate.
I haven't seen the logo yet. So I can't use it.
That would be really cool.
My blue mail sack is in the logo.
No, we could have
Totally
we could have a
That sounds like a Kakui.
we could have a mascot. We could have a Kirby mascot. So the Maui
Would it be a
Comic Con,
vacuum?
it
It
possible. That,
Or would it be Nintendo's Kirby?
Nice touch there, format.
it could be that because it sucks and
you know,
blows.
on the
Sucks
topic
as well.
on
Yeah.
the topic of Jack Kirby's birthday, like I've seen him in different mediums, people paying tribute to him or homage or whatever, and it brought to mind one of my favorite episodes of the Ninja Turtles from one of my least favorite runs of it, the 2003 series. And they had an episode where Jack Kirby, they just called him Kirby, and he lives in the basement and Donatello finds him and he has like a pencil with like a magical crystal on it, and everything he draws comes to life. And then Kirby drew this interdimensional gate or door, and they go into this universe where everything is in like Kirby style, but it's a Ninja Turtles episode, so it's like the meeting of two amazing things in my life.
Wow, it's interesting.
I've seen that episode.
Can I ask you something?
No.
Why?
That cartoon came
I'm
out
sorry.
13 years ago.
Let me be more specific. Can I ask you
Get
something?
on it, guys.
Alika.
Check it out. What's up?
You've always talked about your love for the Turtles. What is it about the Turtles that you love so much? You reference the Turtles a lot.
They're green.
Is that what it is?
They're mean.
They're yeah. Interesting. I was always
Everything.
curious.
What's not to love about the
Various
Turtles?
other
Like,
things
are
they say in
you?
the theme song.
No, I'm just kind of curious. What you reference the Turtles a lot, so I was kind of curious why the Turtles out of.
I'm obsessed.
You are. That's why I want to know about it.
I don't know. What do you want me to say? It's
He's
like,
a fanatic.
yeah.
All right.
You know, it's like,
It's okay.
you know the kids who were like amped up on Ninja Turtles in the late, mid, or whatever 80s, and I was that kid, and now I just never snapped out of it. I could probably sue for damages.
He was also that
Are you a fan now?
Of course, yeah.
So
Of the current
this is
run?
not pre.
Right there.
True.
Yeah.
So this is not pre or post layered. You don't have any of that dangling over your
No,
head.
but I
or-
mean, everybody knows the best stuff was when Peter and Kevin were, yeah. And that's like the bulk of the universe, anyways. Like all the good stuff, but the new run has a lot of original characters and new storylines that are really, really good too.
Let's not mention Alika was in that Turtle Power documentary. He was that kid when
No,
they
yeah,
came
I
out to
wish.
tell everyone the tickets were sold out. He was kicking his finger on the ground.
But even Kevin Eastman, bringing it back to Jack Kirby, I mean, that's one of his like number one main influences.
Oh yeah,
I think I missed it with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because went to go see the movie in 1990, and they were sold out
good.
the first weekend. So I had to go see Joe versus the Volcano.
Ooh.
I saw that in the theater too.
You know what's
Is that why
funny
you
is
love
that there were
volcanoes?
so many
Yeah.
interesting.
That's why I moved to Maui.
What's cool about it is there were so many interesting comic book elements in Joe versus the Volcano.
Yeah, it's funny. Like,
It's like, but it
Brain
just
Cloud.
it just never really came to fruition, and whenever
Well,
really,
it was as a kid, I watched it, and for it to have the attention of a kid, I know a lot of people my age who were watching it at that time. I mean, that says something for just a boring movie about a guy who hates his job.
Yeah. I was always impressed. Getting back to the Turtles, which we'll get back to Kirby, but the Turtles movie. It's so weird that the Turtles movie, the very first one, was so good, and for some reason the budgets got bigger with every subsequent sequel, but yet the Turtles got worse.
The quality got worse.
It's weird.
Well, wasn't the second movie rush production?
Yeah, they were just like, let's hit the jackpot before this thing wears off.
I guess it just got really bad, and then the third one was just horrible. It was just like
the story was all right.
The story was great, but
costumes were terrible.
It was the clicking and clacking of their teeth the whole time. It's just like, was
you
really...
could see the actors.
I think that a lot of it. I mean, the first
frame at the perfectly lighted scene you can.
Oh, it's horrible.
Well, the first movie was the comic. I mean, it was based on.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's
totally
like
comic.
the Earthbound stuff because by issue 5 they're already in outer space. But anything that occurred between the Foot Clan and Splinter and Shredder and all that.
So for the second and third movies, they didn't have a big enough budget or the special effects to do what they had done past issue 5.
Yeah.
So I think that they had to write kind of their own scripts and kind of come up with their own story based on what the budget.
That's true, but then why not just stick with the original costumes, which is weird. Like, well, I mean,
why did they have to turn him into Jim Henson? And then he's like, "You guys make a crappier version of this."
Well, it was
their liver spots got more bigger and pronounced.
So
and
weird.
The eye holes underneath the masks got bigger.
It was Jim Henson's son that was the head.
Brian, right?
Yeah,
Brian Henson. Is that his name?
But Jim Henson was alive during the first movie.
Yes, he was.
He oversaw a lot of it.
He died 2 weeks.
He actually
before it
objected
came
to the
out.
Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah, so he had an
didn't like it
active
because
role in the movie, though.
He didn't like it because there was too much
The violence, yeah. And that was a big deal when I was a kid. Like, parents were wondering if they were going to let us go see it or not.
It's so weird because I never thought that the Turtles were violent. I always thought they always...
I never thought they were violent either. Like the time Leonardo cuts that foot soldier with his sword, I never thought that was very violent at all.
But whenever
or when Donatello shoves his
yeah.
bow staff at some guy's head,
Whenever
or when hits him with his nunchuck.
Listen, don't...
I never thought any of that was violent at all.
Don't try and make a cogent point, okay?
Or when
Stop.
Casey Jones smashes that dude in the face with his hockey stick.
But
that didn't come across as
always
violent at all to me.
It almost felt slapsticky, not violent.
You and I watch very different movies.
Wait a minute. So that would mean that Home Alone is a very violent movie.
It is.
It is.
But it's slapstick. That would mean that the Three Stooges...
It's played for laughs, but
You know what? The
it's
only
very
difference
violent.
is the music. You put the music a little more serious and you watch these
If
guys
you
get
put
crap
the
kicked out
music
of
to
them.
the Saw series of a Home Alone movie, it's an entirely different movie.
That's pretty awesome.
Wait, who was the one that died of brain damage? Larry Curly?
I think it was Curly. I think Curly at the very end. I think it was Curly that was having an issue with his cranium. Yeah, I think. I mean, like I said, don't quote me on that. I'm not sure.
Cranium.
So slapstick actually is very violent, and somebody died from it.
No, the reason why he left it wasn't because of that. The reason why Curly left, was because he just felt like he could never be taken seriously. Like everything was him being Curly. That's why he had to finally get out of that. It wasn't something that he wanted to.
And then we got Joe.
And then we got Joe DeRita. Yeah. Or we got Joe Besser. Oh.
That's who you guys are gonna.
Joe Besser was was the one that had the feminine quality about him.
Well, hopefully we'll luck out and get a Shep.
Yeah,
to replace
Shemp
you.
was awesome. Yeah, Shemp was awesome. By the way, you do have kind of Shemp. Well, no, you don't have Shempy hair.
Apparently he looks like everybody.
Shemp?
No, I'm talking about Todd.
Todd looks like
He looks like
everybody.
Shemp. He looks like Michael McDonald.
Mm-hmm. George Lucas.
Lucas,
Lucas.
it's spot on.
Baby Lucas.
He looks
and
like my
McDonald.
honey pie.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Who?
You look like my honey pie.
So
Rainbow Dash.
Yeah.
when we were talking about Kirby,
Yes.
and his birthday,
Jack-
it was because
is that what we're talking
It's
about?
weird that Todd kind of looks like him. I don't know.
It was
Anyway.
because
Jack Kirby. It's the eyebrows.
you wish you
I
looked like Jack
got
Kirby.
bushy eyebrows.
It's because you wanted to talk about creators, right?
Yes.
Right. So let's get back to that.
Yeah, let's since we're trying to stay on somewhat of a course here, Jack Kirby, give us the reason why you wanted to talk about Jack Kirby, number one, and number two, how does this deal with comic book creators today, Sir McDonald?
So
You have to sing
Jack.
it.
You have to sing it.
Today? No, I've got it. We already established I do a terrible impersonation.
Yes, you do.
Wow. So Jack Kirby had to sue Marvel eventually because He didn't like the way that he was being treated. He didn't like
well, let's start off. That's where let's kind of give a little bit of a backstory. That's where Jack Kirby was started.
Yeah, Jack Kirby started. Well, Jack Kirby started at Timely Comics.
Right. No, what I'm saying is that his big was
and his big character at Timely Comics was Captain America, and he drew Captain America punching Hitler right in the face.
Right in the face.
Before the United States was even in World War II.
Right in his punum.
And he was Jewish, and he had a lot of family in Europe. And he was very worried about them and worried about the situation that was happening in Europe. And he thought that at some point the U.S. was going to get dragged in that conflict, and he wanted to try to promote the American industrial spirit, and he wanted to try to get people motivated to stand up against that kind of
tyranny.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so they were, and it was also a reaction to the success of Superman. So you've already got Superman, and Captain America is Marvel's answer to Superman. And then afterwards, he did. He did a ton of comic books for Timely, and then afterwards he did a ton of comic books for, he did a ton of pages for X-Men, and he worked for probably over 30 years in the industry, and then he decided that the wage and the creative control that he was getting wasn't adequate.
Right. You're saying that he gave up too much control to the publisher.
Well, he didn't really have a choice.
Of course.
Because the way that they paid him. He was paid as a freelancer, and he was... the way that they paid their freelancers back in the day, pre-1970, before they changed the copyright laws, was that if you signed the back of your check, you were signing away the rights and artwork away by cashing that check. So they had a little thing on the back of the check that said, by cashing this, you renounce all your rights to your work.
Interesting. Okay.
And so there's this phenomenon pre-1970 called the work for hire, when a lot of these comic books, like the Hulk and like Thor, and Steve Ditko's another case, like Spider-Man.
You mean like independent contractor stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they signed away their control by cashing these checks, and they weren't even being paid that much. And then on the back end, Marvel was taking it and licensing it to animation studios and toy companies, and they were making fistfuls of cash on top of the comic books with these characters that Jack Kirby was creating and designing and making popular. In pre-1970, from 1939 to 1970, early 1970s, they were comic books was it. That was your cartoon. That was your television show. That they didn't, the people that couldn't access, that didn't have a television set in their home, that didn't go to the movies that often, that was their entertainment.
Sure.
And so they really promoted the character that way. And then they were licensing the character. So they were making a ton of money doing this.
Right.
And then Jack finally said, well, you guys are making a lot of money on... And I think that there was also his relationship with Stan Lee was getting pretty strained at this point, too. Because Stan was saying, I really want this character to do this. And then Jack would come in with a fully drawn story with suggested dialogue for everything. And basically would write, draw, and ink the entire story. He'd plot everything, but then he wouldn't get very much credit. They would say, well, he's a penciler, and he inked it, he did the art, but they wouldn't say that he was a co-creator.
Right. So who does that... So getting everybody involved in this interesting conversation, who does the fault lie with? Does the fault lie with the guy who is cashing the check and doing the work and saying that he resigns his rights in that check, or is it the publisher? because they're
what happened with the legal situation changed because the United States federal government changed the copyright law in the early 1970s.
Right.
And so afterwards, Marvel and DC found out that they were kind of like basically what they were doing was illegal.
right.
And they couldn't do it anymore, so they sent a one-page contract to all the artists to sign so that they would
relinquish all their past and future rights.
Yeah. And so Jack wouldn't sign it, and right about 1970 or a little bit later, he decided to stop working for Marvel, and then worked for DC through the 70s, and then did a lot of independent work, and then also did a lot of concept art. Like he designed Thundar the Barbarian and that kind of
They
thing.
just recently released in Heavy Metal one of his older stories that he did with a freelance writer, The Lord of Light, which was pretty interesting looking. You can see it was that time period in like the early '80s when he was working on like after the New Gods and stuff like that. But you can see a lot of stuff that maybe didn't make it into those books.
The Lord of Light stuff was what he did for Argo. You know,
It was released previously?
well, no, he did, the Lord of Light was the name of the movie that the people that were trying to free the captives, the CIA. That was
really?
Jack Kirby designed the artwork for that fake movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they talk about that in the movie?
They talk about that in the movie, and they talk about it in the Heavy Metal issue too.
Oh, wow.
That the Lord of Light stuff was actually for. It was supposed to be this type of like Star Wars type movie, and they said that it fell through, but really it was just a CIA.
Yeah, just a cover to get in there.
Yeah.
Interesting. So,
Just a reason to make a Ben Affleck movie.
well, what's funny is that
Yeah.
it takes
Batman.
progress to happen in order for things to change. So, of course, that there are some like Jack Kirby who probably got kicked in the teeth by things like
Or
this.
Siegel and Schuster.
Siegel and Schuster, they got kicked in the teeth.
Or
Ditko.
there's
Di-
Ditko, there's
so I mean
Bill
those,
Finger.
yeah, those,
Yeah, the Bill Finger and
That's
the
even
Jerry
just like-
and the Jerry Robinson Bill Finger thing is contentious because Bill Finger thinks that he created Joker. Jerry Robinson.
I was going
thinks
to
that
say
he
Jerry
created
Robinson gets credit on Joker most of the.
right now, and then of course,
I've seen an interview with Stan Lee saying that he created Mjolnir, and it's like, well, or maybe my brother came up with it, and that was just one of those funny words, and that they just decided to make, and I'm like, dude, that's from that's from mythology, like that's actually from Nordic mythology. That's in the prose and the Poetic Edda. Like nobody made that up except for some Vikings about 5,000
He's just
6,000
used to taking
years
credit,
ago.
is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then Jack Kirby took credit for Spider-Man. I heard an interview recently in 1990 where Jack Kirby took credit for Spider-Man, and Jack Kirby wrote and drew 12 pages of Spider-Man, and then got kicked off of it by Stan Lee. They're like, we're not going to publish this. I'm going to give it to Ditko. And then Ditko came in and did the rest of the pages.
there you go.
Sorry.
All right, so hang on a second. So does that mean that if we were to ask now, in the popularity that Marvel is at this point, and Stan Lee holding the chairman emeritus, which is basically a nothing title, just a sign of respect, would that make Stan Lee kind of a turncoat among his peers?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Jack Kirby for the last 34 years of his life said that he created the Fantastic Four. He said that he wrote it, he plotted it, he drew it, he inked it, he gave all the dialogue suggestions, and then Stan went in and basically rewrote his dialogue suggestions for Fantastic Four #1. And then Stan Lee was like, no, it was my idea to do a thing about a team, about a bunch of different types of people that end up going out and getting affected by this,
Cosmic radiation.
It's interesting. I mean, we're sitting here doing something that, a lot of comic books centered podcasts don't do. We're kind of crapping on the good name of Stan Lee and all
Stan
of the
Almighty.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you just got to tell it like it is. I mean, he did great things for the comic industry. Yeah. He's a showman and everything, but it's just certain things that happen between him and the business side of things that are just undeniable. You can't
No, he created the brand, and he created the interests. You know, he got people.
He kind of
really,
created that whole back of the house vibe too. Yeah. That kind of got
the Marvel bullpen,
and everything, and
the merry marching Marvel.
So is
Society.
is it wrong that Stan Lee wanted to play ball and the other guys didn't?
Well, what happened with Stan Lee was he was hired as head writer and editor in chief. So as head writer, he had his toes and fingers in a lot of different pies.
He was in other meetings that Jack Kirby would not have been in.
Man, I had wished we had brought this up when Joe Rubenstein was sitting here. I would have loved to have talked about that.
Well, we can hear what Steve Lealoha has to say about it at the con.
Oh, that would be cool, too. I never thought about that.
He's been there since the Bronze Age, so he's been there. And speaking of the Bronze Age and all this terrible stuff that happens to creators and writers and of characters, then you got to bring up the comic book legal defense fund.
Yeah.
That was started by Neil Adams in the 70s.
Right.
Yeah.
When, he's an iconic creator, and of course he's working on already created properties. But even his art, he found that he couldn't keep any of his art, which is that's a lot of money. Even back then, it wasn't that much money, but people had the foresight to know that by the 70s, comics were so revered.
I don't think it. But here's the thing, and you guys can maybe speak to this. When you work for somebody, it's not uncommon for them to say, okay, whatever you like even at jobs now. I remember working for a couple of companies that would say that had nothing to do with creating anything.
NERDWatch.
Right. No. But they would say that it's about selling something. But if you come up with an idea and they use your idea, you lose out on the idea, or you don't get credit for the idea because it now belongs to the company because you did it under the company banner. So it's nothing new. I mean,
no, but it didn't have it in comic books. It didn't have it in comic strips. The guys that got the guy that prints Valiant, Milton Caniff, he was really upset about the way that the Syndicate was handling Terry and the Pirates. So he went off and created something else and
right.
made sure to keep his copyright.
Right,
and it made him a millionaire.
Okay, so does that mean that we should be looking and maybe this is where Bernardi's disdain for Marvel comes from, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Do we hold that against...
It's a disdain for DC, too.
Right, but do we hold... That's what I was about to say. Do we hold that against them?
I don't think any company is innocent.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Everybody's got their thing.
Do we hold those things against them now? I mean, let's put it this way. Stan Lee technically doesn't work for Marvel. He's just a figurehead. Do we hold that against him, I mean, after all of these years? Still?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that he's always said that I worked with really, really gifted artists. And he's always tried to give a lot of credit to his collaborators, and to his credit. But he will never say that he didn't create Spider-Man. And a lot of people are saying that he didn't create Spider-Man. There are people. Steve Ditko has said that, he did the same thing with Jack Kirby. It was the same kind of thing. Steve Ditko would come in with the whole thing plotted with dialogue suggestions, and then the guys would just basically letter it, and then Stan Lee would kind of sign his name off on it as head writer, and then edit it, and then send it off to the printer.
Interesting.
And Stan Lee always says, it's because I was so busy because I was trying to write 15 books a month. And that could be true, but give the other guys some credit. Give them some control. Let them have a piece of the pie. Let them have a bigger piece of the pie. I mean, they were making tons of money. And then on top of it, Ditko never made any money off those Spider-Man movies. He's never made any money off of the Spider-Man merchandise ancillary to the comic books. He gets a byline and he gets some royalties because of the Spider-Man comic. And I think maybe also the movies and the...
but something about that doesn't feel right, but you have to kind of delve deeper into what is ownership and creatorship and stuff like that. We weren't in that room. We don't know exactly who did everything.
Well, so that's the whole thing is these guys work for hire. These guys...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how they excused it.
That's how they excused it.
Obviously, they did a lot more than just that, but...
Yeah, they're they created this. But the thing is, the idea when they created it was I just need to make money. I need to get some groceries. I need to provide for my family. And comic books were not collectible in the 30s and 40s. They weren't collectible even into the 60s.
Right. Now let's that was what I wanted to ask you next. Yeah. I want to ask all of you guys this. In those days, there was no way that what we currently have could ever have been imagined. None. Right?
Well,
so let's put it this way.
I'm going to give credit right now to a bunch of the collectors in the early days of collecting, that there are people who were comic collectors and very diehard. I mean, the first Comic-Con the San Diego Comic-Con was in 1977.
Right.
There had to have been years and years, and I know for a fact there are circles of collectors that go back to the Silver Age and go back to the Golden Age.
No, but what I'm saying is that there was no way, if we think about it, Marvel, who's a publisher.
Well,
right?
I'm saying those people who were very rabidly fanatic about it did have the foresight. The first person to pay over $100 for a back issue of a comic, that person had foresight.
Right.
That person did see this stuff coming.
But in the 30s and in the 40s and in the 50s...
My mentor, Bruce Ellsworth, was the first person to sell a Superman comic for over 5 figures and was featured on CNN in 1984.
Right.
Like, those kind of people knew that this is where it was going.
But what I'm saying is, though, back in those days when they were working in pennies, and publishers were producing these comics that weren't necessarily flying off the shelves per se, for all of the ink that it took, for all the paper that it took, for all the printing that it took, how are they going to get paid? You understand what I'm saying?
Something about that doesn't jive, because
that
was the primary form of entertainment for kids and young adults.
And it was a way.
They printed comics in the millions and hundreds of thousands.
And
comics will never be printed in that volume
a lot
again.
of those publishers had stakes they were just like, I want to get somebody to buy an advertisement for a toy. How do I do that? Well, I'm going to take all of these Sunday strips and I'm going to collect them.
You're talking back in the Max Gaines days, or like the pulp days, but when they first created what is a comic book,
right? They're
just trying to drive ad revenue for publishers, and
exactly all those early publishers had stakes in all of the advertisements that were running in the back of, like they were also toy companies.
Yeah.
So they were trying to sell whistles and stuff to kids, and they're like, how are we going to get? Like, they were like, man, it costs too much to advertise with these other magazines. How can we get kids to read this stuff and read the ads? And that's what happened. I think and then that drove sort of this idea for new material for comic books.
Right.
So they were like, well, we're running out of strips. We need new material. And they were just like, we just need something for our ads, because we own the ads. And we can pay these guys
right,
and
that's what I'm saying is like let's I mean,
I get what you're saying is like the thesis is that these guys never thought that it was anything other than a disposable piece of rag paper.
Right, and then the thing is that the publisher would go and say, "Hey, listen, what if you look at it, if we look at it that way, it would be a two-pronged process of getting the writers okay and the creators okay, and then the publisher." Yeah. The thing is that if that were the case back in those days, or even in the 70s, like we're talking about here, we would never get a lunchbox or an action figure or a playset or anything like. None of these things would have ever come to fruition, or none of these things would have happened if there was that process, in my opinion. I don't think that these things that we relate to ever would have really been a thing. And that is where I think that's where they knew that the appeal was going to be with these kids, was them buying stuff other than the comic. They wanted to buy more than just comics.
That's obvious.
Right.
Because we are children of the 80s. We're like especially a proof to that rule, because in 1982 or 3,
yes,
law was repealed that was created in the 60s that strictly forbid, to have like a half an hour broadcast without any substantive things aimed at or directed at children. Basically saying you couldn't make a commercial or anything that was, longer than a commercial, or not stated that it was a commercial. And then that year we got Transformers in America. And Transformers would have been illegal a year before.
Commerce!
Format and Gannon are still here. They heard Transformers. Yeah!
But I mean, it's just proof to the rule.
Pay.
You got to make it financially viable to for it to perpetuate itself.
Right, absolutely, and I will admit this: there is no reason why when Marvel would make money and they would be able to turn a profit with other things other than the comic, that they wouldn't go back to the creator and go, "Hey, listen, I know you're giving up all the rights to this, but here is some more money, or here's your cut of what we made off of this." I understand that completely, and I think that a lot of that has changed, especially with the birth of Image, and independent I think now, and this is so funny, in the age of the internet that we live, anything is possible for anybody. Anybody can make their own movie. Anybody can make their own music. Anybody can make their own comic. It's not like it wasn't Siegel and Schuster, in their bedroom just coming up with an idea on a piece of paper with a pencil and then writing a story and then trying to find somebody to publish it.
It still kind of goes that way too.
It does, but I mean, the fact that the internet and social media exists becomes a different.
Now you have to, if you want to get distributed by Diamond, you have to, get a certain number of.
You got to sell a certain amount of copies.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's still people trying to get on that bandwagon.
The irony is, last week Tuesday, me, Format, and Todd were all talking about, the Hawaii Comic Book Alliance starting their own little Image platform. And which would be an interesting concept. Creators still own their creations and would be paid as such. Yeah. But you did bring up an interesting point. Everything would change once money starts trading hands.
No, yeah.
So, I mean, for as much...
And it happened with Image, too.
Right. So, I mean, for as much as... And please forgive me for saying this. For as much as we believe publishers and things of that are dicks, they really do take they take quite a hard stance on these things, but I mean, it would happen to anybody in the first place. I think
Barton Goodman, who started Timely Comics, was just a capitalist, and he wasn't an artist, and he was really interested in kind of exploiting the advertising revenue and the toys that were being advertised in the back of these comics. Like, really, he wanted more people buying something that he already owned. And he also owned some pulp publishers too, and he was making a decent wage on that. And I think that really what he was trying to do was he was a businessman trying to get more people buying inexpensive entertainment.
Can anybody tell me how much money comic books profited from those damn X-ray glasses that were in the back of every single comic book?
1,000%. Because they didn't.
$5.
I'm telling you right now. Every time I would look in the back of a comic, there would be that list of super cool stuff that you could buy, and I always thought the X-ray glasses are always my favorite because I always thought that they were real.
Many muscle-bound dudes in the 70s owed their physique to those ads.
Oh man, I tell you. Remember?
It's a funny thing. I was a skinny little wimp, and then I saw this ad.
That's right. And then the X-ray glasses, you could see through anything, and it's like, I gotta get those glasses, and it's like so ridiculous.
Yep.
The X-ray specs.
I was advertising a D-bag in there one time. It was a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Apparently, there was a printing of it.
Yeah, that's in the 90s.
Interesting.
For them to put that in there.
They would reprint like old 1800, like they were reprinting ads that were consistent with the era in which those characters lived,
right?
As kind of a joke, and there were weird medicinal treatments from like the 1860s.
It was a douchebag.
So let's put it this way:
I wasn't going to say douche, but now that you brought it up, I'm glad. Can we say douche?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
My question is this:
Dick did.
The practice that the practice that you're speaking of so negatively, and the gray cloud that you're putting over the head of Stan Lee, still does exist at Marvel and DC today, does it not?
Yeah, well, and that's the point that I would love to make with most casual comic book readers is that like comics are not fun, and you should think about what you're buying.
That's exactly what I get every time you talk. I'm like, Todd is sucking the joy out of what I love.
No, that's not what I'm trying to say. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying. I'm really glad
you
that
said
you.
It. And it's
I'm surprised you don't hang out the front door and wave a sign.
I'm
Are you going in to buy comics? Please stop and think about what you're doing.
I can see Todd hanging out in the bench going, "Why are you coming here?"
Yeah. Steve Ditko died in poverty for your Spider-Man.
For your Spider-Man. I hope you enjoy it.
Wally Wood shot himself in poverty because of you.
That's hilarious.
Wally Wood, amazing artist.
Anyway, Todd, please.
Wally
make
Wood,
your point.
Wally Wood, sort of an alcoholic, but also a diabetic, and ended up losing his eyesight, and eventually committed suicide.
Good Lord!
And there's a lot of the initiative, the hero initiative that Alika had brought up earlier for comic book artists was because that not only did they spend their lives trying to contribute joy to other people's,
and they had to live in such miserable
they had to
conditions.
live in such
Nobody
miserable
cared
conditions.
about them. Like,
That's right.
Well,
Because
one of the
they
main
were
driving cases was the Siegel and Schuster case. Like,
Yeah.
they had both died before anything.
They
before
went to
legal defense
court
fund.
for that.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
the
so did
families
Jack
are going
Kirby.
to court.
The families are going to court. Still in court for that, yeah.
For a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But at least they've had a few victories. Like, they have regular income from back royalties owed and whatever.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I mean, it's a small fraction,
But it's their family now. It's not them.
How much?
It's the estate.
How much of that $800 million that Batman v Superman made do you think that they're getting?
Probably less than 1%.
Yeah. So I mean, it's something that they first of all they had to fight for credit. Then they had to fight for any kind of creative control,
Right.
If they ever got it,
Right.
But first, what they wanted was credit, and then they wanted their artwork back. And so, I mean, Jack Kirby is I think the quintessential case. I think Joe Simon wrote Captain America, and Simon and Schuster created Superman.
You mean Siegel and Schuster?
Siegel and Schuster.
There you go.
They created Superman, and none of these. The thing is that whether it's Marvel or DC, it's not unique to those publishers,
Right.
Because they had a standard business model of the way that they treated their creators. So I think that when you enjoy these comics, or the movies that are based on these comics, people should try to recognize what the creators that created them, and just maybe take a minute and understand that.
Next time you're out at Spider-Man, just picture Jack Kirby or Steve Ditko just dying in poverty.
I was going to say, happy birthday, Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Jack Kirby, he never complained. He did really well. Ditko, from everything that I understand.
Jack Kirby had a lot of stuff left in him. And not to demean anybody,
I mean,
but sometimes you just run out of ideas.
Hang on a second.
What if those were the best ideas of your life?
So wait a minute.
Ditko's still alive. He's 88.
So Jack Kirby, I take it, died kind of with a chip on his shoulder, I'm guessing, about the comic book business.
No, well,
did he? Todd just said he didn't complain.
He didn't.
No, didn't complain. But I'm saying I'm sure that he had a disdain for the business. I'm guessing.
Well, I mean, if you look at what Alan Moore's going through with his creation in DC Comics and Marvel Comics, it's very similar to what Kirby went through from the 70s to the 90s. And then on top of it, Kirby probably did 10,000 pages of artwork for Marvel. But he only had about 1,100 pages returned to him. And the thing that's really interesting is that not only did the publishers kind of steal that stuff from Kirby, but then because there was not a lot of market, there wasn't a lot of reverence for these characters in those days. The publishers would just give them to staffers, and
now there's contention about were they legally allowed to give it or.
Yeah.
Can I say something? Can I say that every comic book store should have a Todd Bernardi? And there should be
Let me do you one better and tell you that every comic store probably has a Todd Bernardi.
They have several.
Come here, kid.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you. I'm gonna tell you a story.
Jack Kirby. Come here, kid. Let me keep you from buying comics.
I'm absolutely not trying to tell people to buy comics, but if you care about comics,
sure,
don't buy it. I mean, and you love
I'm not trying to tell people not to buy comics, but if you love comics, don't buy them.
Shutter the comic stores. Show your love.
Hey, Todd.
What I'm trying to say is, don't buy superhero comics. If you love comics,
which is 90% of what's in here.
That's exactly.
That's so illegal. That's a lot of business.
Here's what I'm
I
saying.
know you love superheroes, but don't buy superheroes.
No, here's
what. Read a superhero
all
comic,
I'm
don't
saying.
buy it.
All Todd is saying is that his next villain in his next comic is going to be called the Joy Sucker, and
It's gonna look like Stanley.
it's going to look like.
He's gonna
Oh
be
man,
He's like, what you got there? I'm taking credit.
He's like, come here, true believer.
and he's got
Let me
he's
rip you
constantly
off.
And he
taking
puts,
down people
and he
that
holds
look like
up the
Steve
comic in his
Ditko
hand and goes,
Jack Kirby.
Excelsior.
He's like, did you write this and draw this? I'm gonna put my name on it. Excelsior. We're gonna sell.
He's never going to do an appearance at this comic.
That's
so
right.
Thanks a lot, Todd.
Just know,
Stanley.
He will.
just
We
know,
love you, Stan.
Odd guy out of there.
Well, Todd doesn't.
just
but
know. Once I publish this,
They got the cadaver from Weekend at Burby's to stand in for Stanley last year at Amazing Comic-Con.
just know once I publish
he
this
knows the
podcast,
difference.
it's over. So just be aware.
Yeah.
I'm shaking my head, by the way.
All I can think about is Stanley coming down and give Todd a
Look, I'm not saying don't enjoy superheroes. If you love
You're
superheroes,
just saying don't buy them.
I know.
yeah, just don't buy them. You can enjoy them. Just don't buy them.
I'm not trying
I'm
to get
renaming you
I'm
Billy
not.
Bernardi.
Hey, I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to bully people out of that. But
All
I'm
right.
trying to say, like, there's a difference between comic books that are very artistic and well drawn and great stories and great characters and that
Now he's
give
talking about the Kui Project.
no, but that's yes.
Todd, you are a
But
comic.
yes.
You are a
But
comic
yes.
book artist, yes.
But yes.
I
No,
figured
but I'm
it
saying like just buy comics.
What if someone was a fan of the genre and like they knew the history, they knew all of that, but
They
they
just
just
wanna
really
enjoy it,
liked the
yeah.
comic?
That's
You
fine.
still tell them, "Hey, you shouldn't buy those."
No. What I'm totally trying to support people that want to buy comics in general, and I think that it's important for people to collect those comics if they want to have those collections. I absolutely understand.
Sure.
I'm the same way. I've got Batman comics. I'm not trying to talk people out of buying Batman. I've come in here and spent a ton of money on Batman.
You bought X-Men 92 last week.
Yeah, I bought
but he had a good reason.
I bought
Flaming Lips.
I bought X-Men 92 because they got me where my feels with the flaming lips and the toadies. I was like, oh man, I love those 90s.
Here's the amazing thing is
bands.
that we have a Comic-Con
Wait till they
coming up
sell out.
November 5th and 6th, and I can't wait to do a live panel
I
with
could
Todd
just picture
Bernardi.
Todd picketing the Comic Con.
Don't go in there,
No,
guys.
but I think that like most comic book fans are aware of this type of history, and they're also very supportive of the other independent books like Saga and
But you see, and that's the beauty of a con like the one that we're throwing in Lahaina, is that it's
that's
about
gonna
the
be very independent.
it's about the artists, and before Hollywood decided to take over the San Diego Comic-Con, it was always about the artists. And it was about the creators and the writers.
Actually, San Diego is all about the comics.
That's what I'm saying. But
It was all the collectors and stuff in the lobby
Sure.
trading stuff back and forth.
sure,
but I mean, like that was.
But those collectors would go, "Oh, this is written by Neil Adams," or
Well, the thing
"Oh,
is,
this
the
is by
industry
Jack
was
Kirby."
At the point
Neil Adams
where
is not
it
a
was-
writer.
Well, what I'm saying is his name would be on the.
I'm glad
It's
you're
been
watching.
established from
You're
a
watching
very
that.
early episode that G doesn't know.
No,
what
but
he's
no. What I'm
talking
saying is that those names would
When it
come
comes
up
to
and they
comics.
would be on a comic book, and they would go, "Okay, that's what I would pick up." Those names would mean something.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. So and those happened at cons, and like I said, San Diego became such a huge like pop culture phenomenon. And in some respects that's a good thing, and in some respects that's not a good thing. I think
was
it's
just joking about not buying superhero comics. I'm not really that.
Well, I was
despicable.
going to shove it down your throat and be like, well, Invincible's a superhero comic.
Yeah.
Or Jupiter Circle or Legacy is a superhero comic. Or Planetary is a superhero comic.
Right, and they're all independent, and they're all and all the creators that writing and drawing that are getting most of that money.
And that's why I'm saying, why would you tell people not to buy that jerk?
I'm not saying that. I told people. I said come.
Here tomorrow. I know what the blame.
I didn't say not to buy superhero comics. I said not to buy Marvel or DC.
What about all the? What about all? Look, and also this. What about all the great, promising writers and artists who are working at Marvel and DC? Who
Yeah.
don't they deserve some support?
All I'm hearing is the guy who buys Batman comics.
It's not just the evil money grubbers at the top. You know, it's the whole company.
Hey, I agree with that. And you point out a wonderful artist that's working for Marvel and DC, and I'll say that they should get support.
Wow, you are just so hardcore about this.
I
Jeez,
like
Louise.
No, I mean,
you know many.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez. There just seems to be no give with you.
I'm glad you didn't open your mouth during Joe Rubinstein's interview because he would have ripped you a new one.
That's what I wish he had done that. I really have wanted to hear that.
Well, no. I would. Joe Rubinstein knew Kirby. Like he knew those guys,
right?
And he knows what happens at Marvel and DC, and he understands.
Sure, but he wouldn't be like down with them forever. He's not
but
outside picketing.
But the trade off is like, do you want to draw superhero comics or do you want to work in obscurity? And I think that there's a difference. But I don't think that
we all know what choice you made, Todd.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But that and that's what I'm saying. But if you look at the underground comics, like R. Crumb decided to work in obscurity and still made a name for himself.
Okay, you know what? And to that, can I say something about that? And to his,
who's R. Crumb?
And to
Robert Crumb,
Felix the Cat.
For not Felix.
Not Felix the Cat. Sorry,
Fritz the Cat.
Fritz the Cat.
Fritz.
Made more popular by the animator Ralph Bakshi.
Okay.
There's contention between who owns the rights, and
not just
Robert
that.
Crumb kind of backed out of it.
Not just that. Crumb did not like
That's what I just said.
Crumb's take.
Excuse
me. Crumb did not like Bakshi's take on his comic
because he took more liberties than Crumb was comfortable with.
And I think another good example of
only knew Bakshi's.
You can actually watch Bakshi's version on YouTube right now of Felix the Cat. I was going to say it again. Fritz the Cat. Thank you.
But I think Mouse by Spiegelman is also another good example of somebody that was underground that decided not to do superheroes but wanted to do comic books and ended up deciding to be more obscure and then self-publishing, but then that guy won a Pulitzer.
I never finished Mouse, but Mouse was actually, I read a couple of issues of that. That was quite compelling. I never got to finish it, though.
It won a Pulitzer.
Who was that?
Just watch
Art Spiegelman.
Spiegelman?
Yeah.
Just watch American Tail.
Is that the same story?
No,
it's not.
But that's like saying just watch Mickey Mouse.
Let's put it this way: the
Air Pirate Funnies.
Yeah. Well, Air Pirate Funnies is
a direct.
The American Tail Mice would be.
It was basically pushing the
let's
copyright
put it this way:
law.
the American Tail Mice would be oppressed by the ones in Mouse. Let's put it that way.
Well, they'd be cats.
That's right. Yeah. But
no, they would be dogs.
There's a joke that just passed.
Because in American Tail, they were a representation of the Jews. In American Tail, and Mouse has to deal with
not so much Jews in American Tail. It's like just immigrants from Eastern Europe and stuff.
But there's a very
well, no, it was more like a gypsy feel because it was
gypsy,
Eastern
almost,
European.
Well, Nazis didn't like them either.
Well, yeah,
and
so you got a point there, buddy.
You
would know.
Mouse would talk about Mouse is about fascism, totalitarianism, and things of that nature. So yeah,
but it doesn't actually have mice.
It does.
Oh,
it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like American Tail then.
Yes.
We'll go with yes for now.
Okay, for now.
Is there a boat?
There's typhus.
The boat?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the disease?
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
No,
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Sorry.
It's okay. So anyway, you've managed, Todd.
I've managed to run off.
You've managed to run off Gannon and Alika tonight
by my diatribe.
But
this is more piloty than the pilot.
Yeah. Can I say this? Yeah. You can actually pick up Todd Bernardi's comic books here at Maui Comics and Collectibles.
No, don't buy it.
At 333
You're the guy that always sells
Derry Road in Kahului. The Kukui Project. Of course, you can get Hard Candy Aftermath. And he's also working on the latest issue of Disco Thunder Groovebone.
Oh,
yeah.
By the way, there's a lot of people waiting on some 8s.
Some 8s?
Yeah.
They're going to come in from the printer. And
Did you say there's a lot of people waiting on some aids?
Yeah.
Eights.
Yeah.
Apparently, people have been picking up the whole run of Kukui Project.
Wow. Bernardi.
Good
look
stuff,
at you, man.
Yeah.
Before it was 4, now it's 8.
Yeah. I give good oral.
You know, when you guys were talking about the whole...
I eat it, then I ate
like, creators getting content and whatnot.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, I was talking to DJ, and he told me that he actually worked for a company where he created hundreds and hundreds of characters for a company that he worked for free because he was stupid. And, yeah, I don't know.
As in DJ Calvicani, the Big Island comic book
DJ
publisher. No, I'm just clarifying for the people that are listening so that they.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
People listen to this?
Yeah.
No one listens to this.
He's the publisher of Exilian, and he did that. Did he? It's interesting.
Yeah. He was telling me because we're kind of rapping about character creations and whatnot.
Crazy.
And he said that he pretty much did that. And when he was starting out, he created hundreds and hundreds of characters.
Kirby'd himself.
And
that's the name of the show.
He didn't have
Kirby'd himself.
Like that,
I guess creative control. Like after he created them, the company took them over, and
that's
I was
crazy.
like, wow.
Did he not?
He didn't give me any names.
Oh, okay. I was kind of
any,
curious. I
characters
didn't want to
or
get anybody
company.
in trouble or nothing. I was just kind of curious. Interesting.
Thanks,
Well, is Mr. Calvicani still? Will he still be in Maui next month?
Yeah.
He's coming. I know he's not coming to the con though.
He's not coming to the con, but he wants to. We're going to do recording with him. And
he's going to be protesting outside with Todd.
Don't buy superhero comics, guys.
We're going to be at Amazing Hawaii Comic Con Special Edition. We're splitting a table there.
Cool.
And then he's not going to be able to make it to Maui Con, unfortunately. He will be, however, probably appearing this weekend at Hawaii Con.
Oh, very cool. You know who's going to be at Hawaii Con, by the way?
That's this weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's not this weekend, maybe weekend after next.
It's very Star Trek centric. Like Walter Koenig is going to be there, Nichelle Nichols is going to be there.
I met Walter Koenig.
Did you?
Great.
Yeah, I heard
he
he's
hung
really
out and
cool.
talked like story for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, I heard he's a really cool cat.
Eugene Roddenberry.
Is he? He's going to Hawaii.
Roddenberry's son.
Yeah, he's going to be at the Hawaii Con.
He lives in Maui.
No, I met him last year.
Eugene Roddenberry lives. I did not know that. Wow, crazy.
Yeah, everybody knows that.
He bought a
We
copy
hang out
of
at
the
Whole
Kukui
Foods.
Project.
Did he? No.
He bought a copy of the Kukui Project, and I was hanging out with another artist in Artist Alley, and so Nadia sold it to him.
How long before you take it to return it? No, I'm just kidding.
You know, I'm working on one of his homes here on Maui. And,
can you say
looking
that?
at the floor plan. And
He's trying to build his own enterprise.
no, the floor plan is in the shape of the Starfleet.
Shut up.
It's
Is there a captain's chair?
That's awesome.
Well, I don't have. You know,
Don't
Every
cut
time
it.
you walk in the room, it's like
I
dun,
just
dun,
I see it from the
dun.
top view, and it's the Starfleet. I'm always
Don't
like,
be
that's
divulging
cool.
this kind of information without any.
I'm sure
So
he's proud of
cool.
it.
Yeah, good. Well, listen.
I'm sure he's happy up country with Chris Christopherson and Oprah.
Yeah. Listen. Now that Todd's gone, we can start the show. Oh, jeez, he's back.
Hey, welcome back, Todd. Welcome back.
Welcome
So,
back.
out of 2 minutes of picketing, how many people did you scare?
No, anyway, listen. Very interesting conversation.
He just stands up to the store and goes, "It's closed. Go away."
I don't have to do that. He goes on bathroom break. Don't buy that
Well,
comic or else.
don't let. Listen, I like that.
I really like
I
that
love
people want to buy the
good,
comics.
and I really want everybody to know that Todd is expressing another interesting side of comic books that we don't
Oppression.
rarely ever talk about, and it's important to bring up.
Yeah, the obscurest D-bag angle.
I'm not trying to be like that, but
I'm
that's
trying to help
just,
you out, Todd.
Thanks. I'm just trying to say like that.
I'm not trying to be like that, but it just comes natural, and I can't help myself.
I'm not saying that what Marvel and DC is not doing, what they're doing right now, isn't good. I'm not saying that you guys shouldn't be a fan of it, but just look a little deeper. Is all
Interesting.
I'm saying.
Now,
I'm just saying like I'm not saying don't
Pass
buy
the cover.
If they're not reading, if they don't have underwear on the outside, I'm not opening that book.
Well, I know how you feel about the costumes.
Can we all agree with this? Now that Disney owns Marvel,
Yeah.
Marvel is actually getting a taste of its own medicine, don't you think?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Also, good format.
well, now everything Marvel does has to be run through Disney Corporate. And that can be, and from what I understand, Disney Corporate is very stringent on the content that comes out of their studio or their art department or
But is it the same? Like, they're all making money, right?
Well, I'm sure.
Or is it just Disney making money and Marvel's like, hey, but we made this stuff?
Well, I can guarantee you that there are people that are artists at Disney that are working on Disney projects that created some of these characters that probably don't get credit for them. I'm assuming
That's all of them. Somebody created
Right.
each and every one of their characters.
Right. But I'm sure that there are some that are not getting proper due credit, and I'm saying that now Marvel is getting a taste of its own medicine because now
Just like
they
the
aren't.
guy, was it Walter Lansing who worked with Mickey or Walt Disney? One of those famous animators.
Isn't Lansing the guy who created Woody Woodpecker?
Yeah, but they're all around the same era. I'm trying to think. There was a famous animator that Disney screwed out of.
I can tell you one of them, or one that left. Don Bluth.
Oh yeah, I mean that's later. That's later though.
Yeah.
I'm talking about in the golden age, like the 30s and 40s.
Interesting. Well, listen, Todd's gone. Rejoice, because we can buy comics here at Maui Comics and Collectibles, 333 Dairy Road in Kahului. Superhero or other, it doesn't matter. We do not.
Underwear on the outside.
That's right. We do not discriminate against superhero comic books because he has them all here, independent and mass market, and they're all here at 333 Dairy Road in Kahului, Maui Comics and Collectibles. And more information, thank you, sir, more information on the Maui Comic-Con coming up November 5th and 6th. We've already, I should say, the one, Alika has already confirmed Mr. Lealoha coming to the con as well. Any new announcements as well?
We're going to have some big ones coming up pretty soon.
Interesting.
Just
cool.
suffice it to say that James Silvani, the artist from Darkwing Duck,
Of course.
is going to have some company.
I noticed you put up a page on Facebook as well, an event page.
We're slowly filling it. Bear with us. We're just working out all the details how we want to present it, but we're slowly filling it up. So thanks everybody for being passionate about it.
Lots of interest already,
Of course, yeah.
which is very cool.
I mean,
I'm very
comics.
excited.
Comics have always been a big thing on Maui. So
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's more of just trying to get everybody down in the same day.
I am just excited to see what Ganon's going to be dressed up as when he goes. I wonder what he's cosplaying.
You.
You're going to cosplay as me?
Yeah.
You're doing a good job already, minus the tattoos.
I
of
know.
course. You're good. Anyway, listen, folks. NERDWatch presents Bernardi's Mail Sack, or NERDWatch Nights, or NERDWatchmen.
We need a new title.
Oh, NERDWatchmen has come to an end. Yeah.
I'm just saying,
like it.
for every reboot, maybe go out and see Native Sons by Mark Gould, or Pineapple Man by Sam Campos, or
I could have swore I was ending the show.
or Exilion by DJ
He saw a microphone,
Chiavicane.
picked it up, and just decided to...
I'm just saying for every.
But I'm not going to interrupt him because these are actually good guys he's mentioning.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I'm just saying, for every all new X-Men #1, go check out a local Hawaii comic book artist.
It's going to be hard for the guys in the mainland to listen to this.
We should.
we should.
Hey, there's tons of guys. On
Yeah,
the
contact the store if you guys are interested in getting a local comic.
Yeah.
and there's tons of local guys. You go.
I don't know how it works, but apparently it works. Yeah.
If you go
Fold it
into
up, put it
if you
in an
go into your
envelope.
local comic book shop, a lot of local
Mint
comic
condition.
book shops support their local comic book creators in that city, and there's lots of people out there that are worth checking out. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's not discourage supporting local comic book stores by picking up local comic books at your local comic book store, wherever that may be.
Is there such a thing as like an indie con where it's only independent artists?
There's one called
And, like, comic creators?
There's one called Staple in Austin. There's one in Maryland. There's one. They're all over the place. There was one called Alternative Press Expo that was in San Francisco, but now I think it's moved back to San Jose. So there's almost one in every coast and also in the middle of America too. So
well, but at least we all know one thing now. After tonight's little episode, we all know why when we ever see Todd at a con, he's always moping at his table.
I'm always very happy. I love comic book conventions.
Yeah,
I love
at Amazing Con, you were happy to sell a Civil War blank.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I didn't sell that Civil War blanket. Amazing. I sold it at Comic Con Honolulu.
Oh,
and
big difference.
Well, no, it says you look so happy trying to sell it.
I was like,
you want this Civil War thing? I did this little sketch on.
It's really funny. I got a lot of people looking at that, and I was like, why are you guys looking at that? That's not that.
The sad part is most people walked up to the table because
it was such a good rendition.
No, they didn't. A lot of people came up to talk to me about my actual character.
Well, listen, you've created quite a few characters, sir, and you can all check them out here at Maui Comics and Collectibles. Well, listen, Gannon. What? Go ahead.
I love you, Alika.
Lies.
We can bro hug it out.
Yeah,
after
we can bro down after this.
You need me, but you just
you're
chopping me down, man.
So we're out of time, ladies and gentlemen and nerds. NERDWatch Nights has come to an end. NERDWatch Men has also come to an end. Whatever we want to call it. You decide. Hit us up on Facebook.com/the NERDWatch. Hit us up on Instagram at @the_NERDWatch. Hit us up on Twitter at NERDWatch Nation. We're trying to. We're also trying to
make a show. We're trying to.
We're also
make something that sticks.
Yeah, we're trying to work out an issue with YouTube, which will be taken care of. You can also see us on YouTube as well at NERDWatch Nation too. So
we should just keep posting. Yeah. None of our stuff got demonetized because we never monetized
anything in the first place. So Gannon, thanks for joining us tonight.
Magnum.
And I hope you're ready for part 1 of the show coming up next.
Part 1.
Wait, we're recording?
Yeah. So
yes, that camera was not set up.
That's right. So for Gannon and for the one and only format,
the
one and only Alika,
Magnum,
the Swan, the comic book henchman, and for the man who made me realize, who's brought me back down to reality about comic books, Todd Bernardi. And all creators of comic books should be appreciated.
Yeah, maybe next week you can ruin ice cream for us.
It's got a preservative in it that makes that causes cancer and diabetes.
Yeah, I was joking.
Your realities are really ruining other people's fantasies, which is really bad. So until next week for NERDWatch Men, peace out and much love, and most assuredly, always stay nerdy.
Why do I like you?
You don't.
How does this work?
And until next week, we say to you, aloha. We're out of time. See you guys.
Aloha.
That's right.
Magnum.
Wet koala.